Ancient history always fascinated me since I was a little kid, and especially in the area of Egyptology. Visit the Giza, visit Luxor with family visits, then I visit again. Went through a lot of documentaries and readings till once upon a time just got the chance to be there on an archeological site, which to me is one of the best experiences I ever had. So I'm here today just to reflect on that experience and show you some of the highlights of the journey we've been in our experience in archaeology. I am not an archaeologist, however I provide engineering solutions and advisory to the archaeology team that I am with, Wahat team, which is a Spanish mission been excavating in Sudan for the past 10 years. So if I might start with Sudan as a country, it has a wealth of culture. This country, I'm not going to speak about Sudan, what is Sudan today, but then our job was to discover what was Sudan back in history, 1500 BC, where the Meroitic era have just formed and started. So it's a multicultural place. The religion is Islam, mainly. And the people live on the ruins and remains of history, which makes this site one of the challenging sites, as people live there till today, and some parts have been dislocated or moved from one place to another place. So it doesn't give you a unity whenever you examine a site. A little thing I would like to hint on the people of Karima. This is a personal perspective where I think royalty is passed by DNA, and since they've been living around those ruins which belonged to kings back in the day, so some royalty have been passing through DNA, because the people over there, I call them kings of kindness and humbleness. They acknowledge that we are there to do a duty, which is to uncover what history have kept for us. So let me talk about the team. I'll start with myself. I'm Mohammed Abdulmalik. I'm a drilling engineer for the oil field, so I have nothing to do with archaeology or anything. But then I provide advisory for the team, for the Wahat team. Monst is the mission leader. She's the archaeologist and head of the team. She's been in this field for the past 20 odd years. Then we have Edgardo, her husband. Then we have Marga. She's the preservation specialist. Then we have Ignacy. He's an archaeologist also. And we have Jordi. So Jordi is an archaeologist also. And then we have Eva. She joined us in the last year in 2014, and she's also a preservation specialist. Now we'll start the journey of 2014, February. Me and the team have arrived to Sudan and hired a bus and took ourselves all the way to Karima, 600 kilometers away from Khartoum. And on the way, we had a very unfortunate incident. Maybe it was the omens of the place. So, as we were driving, a sudden movement happened in the bus, and I was sitting on the front seat, and I can see the front tire, the rear tire, just wandering about from the side mirror.
How's the feeling?
And the car started drifting, and we managed to stop the car safely. So thank God for that. Everything went smooth on the first day. However, it took us 7 hours in the middle of nowhere to repair this tire. It was repaired, and we arrived to our house in Karima. The team was still with high spirit even though we had this little mishap. And we started our first day by examining the site, looking what we need, what we don't need, hiring the people. It is almost the same people every year, but we have to go through a hiring process because we don't do the underage hiring, and we don't cross limits and lines. We do have an ethical duty towards the finding. And the great findings, which were 8 columns. 8 columns, just like the old Roman columns, a bit older, because it refers to an older period of time, had colors. Those columns had colors. And so it's fascinating. You see the color blue, you see the color red, and you see a yellowish kind of color. And we sent those samples all over 3 different universities in Barcelona in the States. Can't recall the last one. And they concluded shyly that these columns could be one of the very first columns to be colored in the history of humankind. So I take my dear friend Tariq on his carro, and we go all the way to the village market so we can buy the supplies, fabricate what we need to fabricate. The team in Barkel Museum started to examine the area where the reconstruction is going to be for the reassembly or for the assembly of the crane and the reconstruction of the column. So another challenge was moving those blocks from the site in Abbasiyya 600 meters to the museum. Those blocks, we're talking about the minimum weight on the smaller blocks 200 kilograms and the bigger blocks 650 kilograms. So this is some serious weight. Those columns we are talking about are really delicate. They're made out of sandstone with a human 2-finger pressure, can be crushed very easily. We came to the conclusion that we have to fabricate almost everything to make this column reconstruction a success. We came up with an idea for lifting. We fabricated a crane. We used hosting by ourselves. Transportation was a challenge. We used what people use in Karima. They call it carro, which is the donkey and the carriage. So we went and took ourselves back to the past, and we wore what old ancient people wore and tried to think how ancient people thought in order to reconstruct this the way they did. So basically how it is, it's, if this is the base piece positioned, we come up, lift it with a crane, slide it, and lower it on top. It sounds very easy, just like lifting anything else. But then if you remember, we talked about that this is sandstone and very fragile, and to preserve it or solidify it, we would actually kind of ruin the properties, the original properties of this column. So we didn't want to do that. Again, part of the ethical duty. We started casing those pieces. There are 8 pieces. We boxed them, and we had 2 swivel points. So none of the pressure was on the piece itself. All of the pressure was on the box that we have created. And we started lifting them one by one till the last piece, which is the capital. The capital was extremely challenging. And you can see here in the video how we did it in the most careful mode we can be in, because it was flipped on the floor. So we actually had to lift it, flip it, take it up and position it. But then, knock on wood, it was a super job. I give all the credit to Edgardo in reconstructing the column successfully, safely. So my thanks and gratitude go to God Himself, as He is the creator and the initiator and the end. The people of Karima, you're very generous. I don't have the words to describe you. I don't think an adjective have been created yet to describe you.